Furious, irritated, outraged. Anger comes in many forms. Today, we'll break down words that describe different types of anger and emotions. With clear definitions, real-world examples, and images, let's explore the vocabulary of fury. Diatribe is noun. A lengthy and bitter criticism or attack. A strong, angry, and critical speech or writing. The newspaper editorial was a diatribe against the government's policies. The politician's speech turned into a diatribe against his opponent. His social media post was a diatribe against anyone who disagreed with his views. The talk show host launched a diatribe against the celebrity guest. Her rant about the service at the restaurant was a diatribe that lasted for several minutes. Rage as verb. To feel or express intense anger or violent behavior. He raged with frustration when he discovered that his project had been sabotaged. The protesters raged outside the government building, demanding accountability from the officials. He raged against the injustice of the decision, slamming his fist on the table. She raged at the driver who cut her off in traffic, honking her horn and yelling obscenities. The villagers raged against the encroachment of their land by the mining company, staging protests and blockades. Antipathy is noun. A feeling of opposition or hostility towards something. A strong feeling of dislike or aversion towards someone or something. His antipathy towards modern technology was well known, and he refused to use smartphones or social media. The teacher's antipathy towards certain students was evident in the way she treated them, often singling them out for criticism and punishment. The company's antipathy towards unions was reflected in its harsh policies towards employees who tried to organize or bargain collectively. She felt a strong antipathy towards people who mistreated animals and would always speak out against such behavior. There was a clear antipathy between the two political parties, with each side accusing the other of being corrupt and incompetent. Seethe as verb. To be in a state of agitation or excitement. To boil or churn. To feel intense anger or resentment. To be filled with violent emotion. The pot of water seethed as it reached a rolling boil on the stove. Despite his outward calm, he was seething with jealousy inside. The angry protesters began to seethe outside the government building. She could feel her frustration seething as she waited in line for hours. He tried to remain calm, but his anger continued to seethe beneath the surface. Tantrum as noun. A display of childish or irrational behavior in response to a perceived grievance or frustration. A sudden outburst of anger or frustration, often characterized by screaming, crying, or other emotional displays. His tantrum at the meeting embarrassed his colleagues and damaged his professional reputation. She had a tantrum when she discovered her phone was missing. The child's tantrum subsided once they were given their favorite snack. After being denied a toy at the store, the toddler threw a tantrum in the middle of the aisle. The CEO threw a tantrum when he found out about the decrease in profits. Wrath as verb. To express or vent anger or fury. To become angry or indignant. To inflict punishment or retribution for a perceived wrong or offense. The dictator wrathed against anyone who dared to oppose his regime. She wraths at the unfair treatment she received from her boss. He wraths against the injustices of the world, railing against corruption and inequality. The wrath mob demanded justice for the victims of the crime. The villain vowed to wrath vengeance upon his enemies. Wrath as adjective. Characterized by intense anger or fury, full of rage or indignation. showing or expressing anger or fury, marked by a fierce or violent disposition. The wrathful storm unleashed its fury upon the unsuspecting town, causing widespread destruction. She felt the wrathful glare of her teacher after being caught cheating on the exam. His wrathful gaze sent shivers down her spine. His wrathful outburst left everyone in the room stunned and silent. The wrathful king punished those who disobeyed him with severe penalties. Vehemence as noun. Intensity or forcefulness of expression, emotion or conviction, fervor or passion. The quality of being vehement or strongly emotional in behavior or speech. The politician's speech was marked by its vehemence against corruption in government. The vehemence of his reaction surprised everyone in the room. She argued her case with such vehemence that it left no doubt about her conviction. Despite his usual calm demeanor, his vehemence on this particular issue was palpable. The debate was characterized by its vehemence, with both sides passionately defending their positions. Temper as noun. A person's state of mind or mood, especially when displayed openly. The degree of hardness or elasticity in a substance, particularly metal, as a result of heat treatment. His sudden change in temper surprised everyone in the room. The metalworker carefully monitored the temper of the steel during forging. He has a quick temper and often loses his patience. The teacher had to learn how to manage the diverse tempers of her students. She showed remarkable temperance in the face of adversity. Seethe as noun. A state of agitation or turmoil, a state of intense anger or resentment. Examples. He felt a seethe of frustration as he struggled to find a solution to the problem. She couldn't hide her seethe as she listened to the unfair accusations against her. The room was filled with a seethe of emotions as people debated passionately. The seethe of discontent among the workers finally erupted into a strike. The political landscape was in a constant state of seethe, with tensions simmering just beneath the surface. Resentment as noun. Bitter indignation at having been treated unfairly, resentment. Persistent ill will at something regarded as a wrong, insult, or injury. She harbored deep resentment towards her former employer. The decision created a sense of resentment among the employees. His resentment towards authority figures stemmed from childhood experiences. He couldn't shake off the resentment he felt towards his brother. The resentment between the two families dated back generations. Fury as noun. Intense or violent anger, rage, or wrath, a state of extreme emotional agitation or indignation. Wild or turbulent force or energy, often associated with a violent or destructive natural phenomenon. She trembled with fury upon discovering that her belongings had been stolen. In Greek mythology, Zeus was known for his fury when angered, often unleashing thunderbolts as punishment. The storm unleashed its fury on the coastal town, causing widespread damage and flooding. His face contorted with fury as he shouted at the driver who had cut him off in traffic. The protesters marched through the streets, their chants echoing with fury against social injustice. Hostility is noun. The state or condition of being actively opposed or resistant to someone or something. Conflict or opposition between individuals, groups, or nations. Unfriendly or aggressive behavior or attitudes. Animosity, antagonism, or opposition towards someone or something. Workplace hostility can create a toxic environment and hinder productivity. There was a palpable sense of hostility in the room as the two rival teams faced off. The candidate's speech was met with hostility from the opposing party members. He felt a sense of hostility from his classmates after the argument. Hostility between the neighboring countries has escalated into armed conflict. Irascibility as noun. A tendency to become easily and often habitually angered or provoked. The quality of being easily provoked to anger, irritability. His irascibility often led to conflicts with his colleagues. Her irascibility was particularly evident when she was under stress. The coach's irascibility sometimes intimidated the players. Despite his talents, his irascibility caused many to avoid working with him. The old man's irascibility made it difficult for others to approach him. Outburst is noun. A sudden and intense release or expression of emotion, energy, sound, or activity, often characterized by its abruptness, intensity, or unpredictability. A sudden, uncontrolled, or explosive verbal or physical display of anger, frustration, excitement, joy, laughter, or other strong emotions. His angry outburst at the meeting resulted in strained relationships with his colleagues. The audience erupted into cheers and applause at the end of the performance, a spontaneous outburst of appreciation. The child's temper tantrum was a loud and disruptive outburst in the middle of the store. Her emotional outburst surprised everyone in the room, as she burst into tears unexpectedly. The comedian's jokes provoked fits of laughter and outbursts of merriment from the audience. Temper as verb. To moderate or adjust, especially to achieve a desired outcome. To soften or strengthen by subjecting to a process or treatment. He tempered his criticism with constructive feedback. The chef tempered the chocolate to achieve the perfect consistency. The blacksmith tempered the steel to increase its strength. They tempered their expectations for the project given the tight deadline. She tempered her excitement with a dose of realism. Antagonism as noun. Active hostility or opposition between conflicting parties. The state of being opposed or hostile towards someone or something. The antagonism towards immigrants fueled divisive rhetoric and discriminatory policies. The antagonism between the two rival gangs escalated into a violent confrontation. The antagonism between management and labor led to a series of strikes and protests. The antagonism towards authority figures was evident among the rebellious youth. There was a noticeable antagonism between the two political candidates during the debate. Indignation as noun. Righteous anger or indignation felt in response to perceived mistreatment or wrongdoing. Strong displeasure or resentment arising from a sense of injustice, unfairness, or insult. She expressed her indignation at the way she had been treated by her colleagues. The editorials in the newspaper reflected public indignation over the corruption scandal. His speech was filled with indignation at the government's failure to address social inequality. The decision to close the community center sparked widespread indignation among local residents. The workers voiced their indignation over the proposed pay cuts. Bitterness is noun. Resentment or cynicism resulting from disappointment, failure, or perceived injustice. The quality or state of being bitter, a sharp, unpleasant taste. He couldn't hide the bitterness he felt after being passed over for promotion. Despite his bitterness towards his former colleagues, he tried to maintain a professional demeanor. There was a hint of bitterness in her voice as she spoke about her past experiences. The bitterness of their divorce lingered long after the legal proceedings were over. The bitterness of the medicine made it difficult for the child to swallow. Virulence is noun. The degree or intensity of hostility, malice, or bitterness in words, actions, or attitudes. The severity or harmfulness of a disease or pathogen, especially in terms of its ability to cause damage or harm. The virulence of the flu strain led to a widespread outbreak, affecting thousands of people. The venomous snake's bite was known for its high virulence, causing severe tissue damage and sometimes death. The political debate was marked by the virulence of opposing viewpoints, resulting in heated arguments and personal attacks. The pandemic demonstrated the importance of understanding the virulence of infectious diseases and implementing effective containment measures. The virulence of the virus was evident in its ability to rapidly spread among the population. Acrimony as noun. It implies a sense of resentment, anger, or hostility towards someone or something. It is used to describe a hostile or bitter attitude or atmosphere, often in a disagreement or dispute. In a business partnership, acrimony can arise when there are disagreements about strategy, compensation, or other issues. After the divorce, there was a lot of acrimony between the former spouses, making it hard for them to co-parent effectively. The acrimony between the two political parties made it difficult for them to work together on important issues. The acrimony between the rival sports teams was palpable, with fans trading insults and taunts throughout the game. When a project fails, there can be a lot of acrimony among team members as they try to assign blame and figure out what went wrong. Animosity as noun. Strong feelings of hostility or hatred towards someone or something. There has been a long-standing animosity between the two rival soccer teams. The political opponents have expressed their animosity towards each other during the election campaign. The siblings have held onto animosity towards each other since childhood due to a past conflict. The two companies have a history of animosity towards each other due to competing in the same market. The teacher sensed the animosity between two students who had a disagreement in class. Altercation as noun. A heated or angry dispute. A noisy argument or disagreement, especially in public. The altercation at the bar drew the attention of other patrons. The neighbors had a heated altercation over the property line. The altercation between the two drivers escalated into a physical confrontation. The altercation between the coach and the referee resulted in both being ejected from the game. The altercation between the protesters and the police led to several arrests. Rage is noun. A widespread display of intense anger or violent behavior, often involving a large group of people. Violent, uncontrollable anger, fury. She could feel the rage building inside her as she listened to the lies being told about her. The mob descended into a frenzy of rage, smashing windows and setting fire to cars. In a fit of rage, he threw the vase across the room, shattering it into pieces. His face contorted with rage as he confronted his betrayer. The news of the massacre filled the nation with rage, prompting widespread protests. Level up your English. Master vocabulary, idioms, and phrasal verbs with fun quizzes. Translate meanings into 104 languages. Download now. Link in the description. Please like and subscribe to our channel.